can't yet read each other's minds, so we won't ever know if you are actually nervous as a speaker unless you show us or tell us. Practice is everything. We already know this. We apply it easily if you want to learn a musical instrument or if you want to learn a sport, right? We'd never go, okay, everybody, we have a big soccer game on Saturday, so let's all go home and just think about how we're all going to do well on that day, right? And then see you on Saturday, right? No, we would practice it as much as possible. And yet, when it comes to public speaking, presentations, for some reason, we don't automatically apply that.
That's Montana Von Fliss. She's a professional public speaking coach with over 17 years of experience coaching and over 30 years of acting experience. She works regularly with professionals from Microsoft, Amazon, and Google to help them show up with clarity, presence, and real confidence. So you'll learn 1, how to override your critical self-talk. 2, the number 1 habit most communicators neglect. And 3, simple tips to upgrade your presence. And if you want a quick summary write-up of the actionable takeaways, I recommend you sign up for the free Gold Nugget email newsletter found at awesomeatyourjob.com. I'm Pete Mikaitis. This is How to Be Awesome at Your Job. And now, here's Montana. Montana, welcome.
Hello, Pete. Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. It's great to have you here. I'm excited to talk about confidence.
Yes.
Tell us, you've done a lot of coaching with a lot of people. Is there a top thing about confidence that has really surprised you and your clients again and again?
Yeah, that confidence is not an innate trait. You don't have to be born confident. It can be learned. It is a skill that you can practice and learn.
All right. That is encouraging. I guess that's what we're trying to do here. Otherwise, it'd be a very short interview, Montana.
I think so.
It's learnable. Cool. All right. Well, so I'd love it to hear perhaps an inspiring story of just that. Someone who was not so confident, learned the things to do, did those things, and walked out much more confident.
I think I'm a great example of that. I certainly wanted to be on stage from a very young age. I wanted to be an actor, and that was the path that I went down. But I also almost always felt nervous stepping on a stage, sometimes downright terrified, really. And yet I just kept doing it because I loved everything about it. So I just kept doing it, sort of stubbornly just kept doing it. And I am the poster child for if you just keep going, keep practicing, keep giving it a go, keep going up for that next time at bat, you will improve. In many ways, really, but certainly I think in terms of confidence. And I can tell you a very specific story about how I sort of figured out a little hack to how I could reliably give myself the confidence I needed to get on big stages.
Well, yeah, so you're feeling nervous. Yeah, what happened next?
Well, at first, I just white-knuckled it. Like, oh, I don't like this feeling. We're on the roller coaster, but I guess the show's about to start, so here we go. And I just sort of would get through it, I guess. I didn't have a plan. I just thought, this is terrible, and then life would move on, and I would try to push it down, stop it from happening. But over time, I just kept sort of banging my head against that wall, so to speak, and I came to this realization like, well, that's not working. So what else could I try? And I realized that I was memorizing my lines. I was working very hard on what I was saying out loud. So when I was an actor, those were memorized verbatim scripts, right? Mm-hmm. If I was a presenter or a speaker in a professional context, then I was writing those words myself and I was spending time crafting that narrative. But I wasn't spending any time writing, crafting, exploring, playing with the narrative I had in my head. And the moment I decided to apply what I do for my out loud text to that inner text, everything changed. I was like, wow, you can do this? You can go in there and sort of tinker with how you talk to yourself. And that began this really great, ever evolving. It's still evolving for me. grand experiment in how you talk to yourself and how you can change that up and how much it really matters in terms of the result in your performance.
Intriguing. So thinking about the lines that you're saying to yourself and then proactively reshaping them. So you're not just the actor, but the playwright. Nifty. Could we hear some examples of some common inner texts or lines that you said to yourself frequently and what you decided to substitute in the edit?
Absolutely. So a common one for me was, and still sometimes is, something like, you better be perfect. Don't mess up. What if they find out that you're not very good at this, that you're not the person to listen to on this topic? Definitely a lot of thoughts like that. Don't mess up. A lot of things like that. And sometimes even kind of uglier, darker ones like, what if they don't like you? Which is interesting. But anyway, I'm sure people can relate to whatever your own little unhelpful thoughts that come in. So those would come in. And again, normally I think I would just sort of be in the grip of these thoughts. Like they would sort of take over. And then at some point I would just walk out onto the stage with these thoughts running. Now, still a win. I walked out onto the stage. But once I started making my own silent script for the moments before I stepped on the stage, then I would have an answer available to those sentences. So for example, when I would hear something like, you better be perfect, the moment I became aware that I was getting that old message again, I would say, oh, I hear you. I thank you. Thank you for trying to protect me. That's a new one I'm slipping in there. It's like my anxiety or whatever, trying to protect me. Thank you. That is not my measure of success for this presentation. My measure of success is, have I helped at least one person in this room? Now that came out of me setting the silent sentence, the intention that what I want to do with this presentation is help at least one person here today. That was me sort of sitting down and like rewriting that silent narrative in my head and having that little silent script ready so that when that ugly, unhelpful thought came in, I actually had something there, memorized, practiced in the script. Now, sometimes it turns into a little dialogue where it will go like, but, have you thought of this? What about this other fear? Excuse me. What about tripping? Have you thought about tripping? Have you thought about what if the tech doesn't work? At first that kind of bummed me out that like, my little trick didn't just make anxiety poof and disappear. But then I realized after watching Inside Out 2, seriously, I realized, well, what if all the emotions, including anxiety and fear, are on my side? They're there to help me. So it's just doing its job. It says, be afraid of this thing. And I go, thank you. Thank you so much for trying to protect me, which, by the way, that immediately starts to change the relationship. I'm doing this. And then I sort of take back my power by saying, here's what I'm going to do. I am going for the goal of helping at least one person here. It usually doesn't go, oh, okay, cool. You got this. It usually goes, but, how about this? And I go, thank you. I hear you. And I'm going to keep walking to that stage because I really want to help that person who's out there waiting for me, right? So I generally have to insist, gently, kindly, with gratitude, insist that I'm going to do the thing that I set out to do. And that, I have to be honest, I'm still shaking. Like the adrenaline burst has already happened. The fear chemicals have been released. So I'm still shaking. I'm still sweating. I'm still having those thoughts of like, well, why don't we just run away instead? Wouldn't that be better if we just didn't do this? And I just have to gently, almost like a parent talking to a child, like, I hear you that you want to do that, and we're going to do this other thing instead. You are going to wear your jacket as we go out into the snow.
I like that a lot. The assertive, decisive, clear word to yourself. And just at the gym this morning, I was sort of annoyed by some things that are on the TV. I don't even remember what it was. It was like an advertisement or a program, then I just thought it was a waste of time, unnecessary, distracting, and irritating. I'd rather just not have all those screens going, So there was something going on. And I could go down a loop of, oh, why is this like this? I don't like that. It's so annoying. Why don't people, whatever. Just a whole whiny interrogation that doesn't really lead to insights. And I just found myself saying internally, I refuse to spend a second attending to that. And I did. And it was like, I'm just going to look not at those screens, but elsewhere. And it was a much more enjoyable experience. So I love that it's decisive, it's assertive, and you call the shots, you have the authority, and you take it and you deploy it with a definitive statement.
That's a great example. And that to me was revolutionary, realizing that at any moment I have the power to make a different choice. And especially I have all the choice in the world about how I talk to myself. And how you talk to yourself really matters. And we do it all day long, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pick up glass, take a sip of water. We're really good at following our own instructions. But the trick is sort of noticing that and then going, oh, how would I like to maybe tinker with that, especially if it's not working very well for us? And I think that is not necessarily a new idea. The fact that we can edit our self-talk, we can practice positive and constructive self-talk, but the idea that I'm adding to it is, why not put it in the script? It's the silent part of the script before you begin speaking, or perhaps it's in the pauses in between, or really anytime you need it. But put it in the script and practice it as much as you're practicing the out loud bit.
Oh, I like that a lot.
So it becomes part of the script. It becomes default. It becomes part of you just as easily as you can rattle off, I don't know, the 3 points that you're deciding to speak for this communication. You're also just as able to access that silent instruction that is more constructive and is setting you up for where you want to go.
Let's hear about practicing it. What does that look like in practice, the practicing of the internal dialogue?
Yeah, so I mean it when I say it's the silent part of the script. So actually write it down in your script or however you keep your notes. I put it in parentheses myself just as a signal to myself that it's an internal thought. It's an inside voice rather than something I intend to say. And so that whatever kind of notes you use, that can be the little speaker notes in PowerPoint, or that could be like sometimes I'll write it down on a sticky note and tape it to my monitor if it's a virtual presentation. But certainly it is part of the script such that every time you run it, every time you practice it, you will start with the silent sentence and then go to the out loud part. So an example of that, I have several now. The one that I mentioned in my TED Talk is, I invite you to be here with me while I am here with you so that I can help you to the best of my ability. Now, that's long, but I've said it so many times that it's just right there for me. Sometimes I will collapse it and just say invite and help. It does the job for me because I have it so ingrained and it's such a habit, and it brings all the goodness. Lately, I've been loving the silent sentence, let's grow. Let's grow. So short, but it's got the let's, which is got the invitation part built in, which I love. And then let's grow. It reminds me that we're both learning. I may be giving the presentation, but I'm learning too as we're doing this, and we're partners in this. So the way that might look, I'll have let's grow at the top of my script. So inside my head, when I'm doing a rehearsal or practice run, right, it'll be something like, and this is the silent part, I would say, all right, I invite you to be here with me while I am here with you so that we can grow and learn together. Or perhaps it's, let's grow. Hi, my name is Montana Von Fliss. Prepare to be amazed, or whatever my intro is, right, that I say out loud. So it would literally, if someone were watching me, it would look like me looking around at my imagined audience. Then they would hear me say, hi, my name is Montana Von Fliss, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So it might not look like much, but what you're doing there is you're saying that silent bit in your head, the silent part of the script. You say your out loud part. And then when you go back to start again, you start with that silent sentence.
Well, that's really cool in terms of thinking about integrating the silent sentence in any place you are doing a meeting, a speech, a presentation, or just like a one-on-one conversation with someone that you've done some prep for, because it's part of it and it's to yourself, and then it shapes what follows. And I just think that's a cool thing you might integrate in all kinds of conversations. And I think that's really nifty.
Absolutely.
I guess I was curious to hear, with practicing internally, what I imagined was when you said in your internal script, you might go with, oh, what if I mess up? You better be perfect. And then you have your response that you've practiced internally, which is, well, hey, I succeed if I've transformed just one person, or that kind of a response. What's funny for me is I think, because I've been there, and then I've had the worry, I've had the response about one person, and then I've got the counter response like, well, Pete, if there's 300 people in this audience and you've only transformed one people, then 299 people have wasted their time. And that's really a failure for what you have done to all of these people. So not to diminish that very powerful, hopeful, useful thought, but when the brain is in scared, anxious zone, or just snippy, grumpy, and goes there, do you practice the counter response, or do you just redirect? Like, we're doing this now, or how's that work internally, and how do you practice that?
I always have a counter response, but it usually stems from what my base thought or my initial silent sentence was. So, for example, if my silent sentence is, I'm here to help at least one person in this room, and then the counter thought is, yeah, but it's a failure if you don't help the other 299. And I said, I want to help at least one person. Everyone is invited to this information and these new ideas. But my personal goal is that I want to reach that one person who gets me, who needs to hear what I have and really plugs into my way of looking at it. So do you hear that counter response is really just an emphasis of my original thought?
Yeah, I hear you, and I just wonder about, and maybe I've just got a nasty mind.
No, keep going. I love this. Keep going.
But I can counter. The response is like, well, your goal is lame, and you should raise your standards.
Yeah, you can totally, oh man, have I had all of those thoughts. Your goal is lame. Yes, thank you for protecting me. Like, thank you for helping me to think of that. And I would say I'm making a doable goal. And if I get more, then I have a higher likelihood of success. And that helps me, right? To go, oh, I can get at least one person. The other thing it helps me to do, and I might remind myself of this if I'm having this little internal talk, is it always helps me to think of, regardless of how many people are in the room, it helps me to think of the power of one-on-one communication. Like, I do better in one-on-one communication. So I'm going to borrow that superpower of mine, and I'm going to activate it by thinking of this as a one-on-one, even though everyone in the room is invited, right? So that is part of what I'm doing. If myself is good, that is part of what I'm doing, right? Is getting the best out of me by thinking of it this way. So we're going to keep going with the idea of, I'm going to help at least one person so I can activate that one-on-one communication style. And I also know, like, it might go, but I also know that I can't control other people. I can only invite them. So all 300 are certainly invited to the information. But I know that I'm very achievement oriented. So if I make it a doable achievement, meaning like this is a goal that I am more likely to attain, then I do better. That's another part of just knowing myself and knowing what motivates me, right? So I might say, I'm just making an attainable goal for myself. All 300 are certainly invited. Does that make sense? Or does that help?
Oh, yes. Thank you.
I mean, and I go on. I have conversations with myself or my other selves. They could be my other selves, maybe my younger self. It could be my anxiety or fear, but I have full-on dialogues So don't be surprised, because it makes sense that it wants to continue to bargain with you in this way. Like, because imagine you're walking into a burning building, right? And you're like, I'm going to go save my, MacBook in that burning building. And your fear's going, don't go into a burning building. Don't do that. You could die. Don't do that. Imagine if you just went, hey, it's cool. I got this. It wouldn't stand down. It wouldn't say, oh, okay. It would keep trying to stop you, because that's its job, is to keep you safe. And going up to speak in front of many people, I think it activates a similar sort of fight or flight fear mechanism in us, right? So it's not unusual for it to keep fighting, to keep you safe, keep you from going on that stage. It's just, do you have a prepared sentence and sort of the surrounding logic that you wholeheartedly believe in to respond to it in that moment? And I have found that it works best when they are tied to what you care deeply about. Like, why are you doing this? And even sometimes, why are you here on this planet? What is your purpose on this earth? Like, I feel genuinely I am here, in part anyway, to help others be able to step on a stage and to feel a little bit of ease, maybe even just find a process and a way to manage through it so that they can do it more effectively, right? So when I attached to that in my own personal example of like, I'm just here to help one person, that's activating something extremely powerful in me. I will walk through hot coals, Pete, to help you for your next presentation. Like, that's just how I'm built. So when I remind myself of that in that moment of extremis, in that moment when I'm sort of hijacked by fight, flight, that fear, it acts like this override switch, and I will do it kind of no matter what is how it feels. And so when you dig around for that for yourself, you'll sort of know it when you feel it. Like, why did I say yes to this presentation? Well, my boss told me so, right? But then dig further. Well, I like keeping my job. I like feeding my family. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe the image of like my little daughter is the thing that pulls me onto that stage or up in front of that group of people. Maybe you're like me and you really love helping people. You love sharing information. Maybe it's like problem solving. I love sharing a solution to a problem that you might have. Like, that just lights me up, like problem solving and puzzle solving. Yeah. When you find out what that is, that has energy, huge energy. And when you get that, like, you grab it, you write the silent sentence down, you practice it. When that voice that wants to argue with you comes in, I promise you, if you're attached to that deeper why, you will have all the right answers to essentially redirect yourself to what your priority actually is in this moment.
Okay, so we've covered the internal dialogue. Excellent. Now, how about practicing the actual external speech?
So practice is probably my best piece of advice as a speaker coach. And it's also probably my most ignored piece of advice. Like, and I understand, I don't feel like practicing pretty much ever, but I just learned as an actor, that was my first profession. I learned through that job that practice is everything. Practice is how you get ready for any type of performance, speech. And by the way, we already know this. We apply it easily to something like if you want to learn a musical instrument or if you want to learn a sport, right? We'd never go, okay, everybody, we have a big soccer game on Saturday. So let's all go home and just think about how we're all going to do well on that day, right? And then see you on Saturday, right? No, we would practice it as much as possible. We'd practice specific plays and all sorts of things, yeah? And yet, when it comes to public speaking, presentations, for some reason, we don't automatically apply that. And I'm not exactly sure why, but that is another thing I'm here to tell the world. Truly, the best thing you can do is practice. So what that looks like is actually standing up, saying it out loud, running through your script, however you have your notes, have those up, run through your slides if you have them, imagine the audience, invite them in, make it all be like it will be on the day. If you're going to be seated, if it's something like a virtual presentation, open up whatever virtual platform you're going to be on and be seated how you're going to be seated. Test your tech, but also run through your presentation out loud as if the audience is there. And that's what it looks like. Really actually doing it. It's like if you were going to learn the piano, you would actually play that piano. You would play it, right? Mm-hmm. To get better at it, to prepare for that concert on Friday.
Oh, very good. And so that's the practicing of the external speech. And just a side note, I remember we had Diane DiResta some time ago on the show. And I said, how much do you practice? And she gave a very definitive answer. 6 sticks. Do the whole run through 6 times. It's like, all right, that's very precise. What's your hot take on how much practice is the right amount?
Yeah, it's different for everyone, but I'll tell you what I do. If there's a presentation coming up for me in about a week, I will start practicing once a day.
That's about 6 or 7 times. There you go.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that advice. So a week or two before, put it in your calendar. Practice a little bit every day. Personally, I would do a full run through every day. I would also take the intro, like whatever that is for you, could be like the first 30 seconds or so, and your final sentence. So those 2 bookends. And I would run those 3 times in a row out loud multiple times a day from wherever. So like if you're in the shower or cooking dinner or exercising, because if those are strong and ready and available to you, and they're really boiled down and just exactly what you wish to say to tee up the entire communication, as well as to close it out strongly and stick that landing, oh my goodness, that is so effective. So effective. So that's how I would practice. And then you have to figure out how to make yourself do this. And that goes to digging into like what motivates you. And you can go back to that great recent episode you had with Chris Bailey. I loved that one about figuring out how you particularly are motivated through your own principles and your own levers. So what is that for you? And then build that in. So maybe I don't get a second cup of coffee until I do my run through. Maybe I go, I'll just do 5 minutes. And then of course I end up doing 15. Whatever that is for you, to get you to just do it.
In a way, that's the mini game or challenge in and of itself. It's like, what needs to happen for me to do it? Okay. All right. Well, let's just do that real quick. All right. Now we're set. As opposed to just getting in a loop of, I don't wanna, that sounds hard. It's uncomfortable. It's boring. There's a really great show I want to watch. Sort of picking a new question, a new game. It's like, all right, well, what is it going to take to do this shortly? Coffee or might be the answer. Could be something else.
Yeah. What is your driver? And really, you are the only one who knows that. I know some people also feel kind of funny, either seated or standing up in their office or wherever by themselves, running through it. Like that can feel silly or strange to them, especially if they don't have a lot of performance experience. And I get that, right? But you just have to kind of get over it. Just do it a couple times and get over it. Because again, doing the thing is how you will get better at the thing, right? So
certainly
that means doing it on your own. Like I will say, like whatever kind of little ladder you need, like what is the smallest step you can take, and then slowly work up that ladder. So for example, maybe you just do your intro and you're already like, wait, what do I want to say? It's kind of, maybe I should sit and write it out and just think about it a whole bunch. I would recommend instead, just say it. Say it imperfectly out loud. Say it to the cereal boxes. They are rather, non-judgmental. And then after you've done that a couple times, move to some art on the wall. Go to a lovely piece of art. A little more judgment there. Say it again. Then move to a beating heart. Right? Do you have a pet? Say it to them. Start with the cat, then move to the dog, right? Or other way around. Maybe start with the dog with a little more love and acceptance, then move to the cat, then move to a human being who loves and trusts you would be a good choice, I would say. right? And then maybe a dry run with your colleagues and then the wider audience. Somewhere in there, by the way, too, you have a video camera in your pocket. Video yourself, watch it back. And I know everybody at that moment goes, oh, that's the only one, Montana, that I am not willing to do. And I hear you. And I want to tell you, I believe every human feels that. Pretty much everyone feels that. Ugh, I don't want to watch myself, whatever that is, that kind of discomfort. It might feel a little funny, but wouldn't you rather see it in advance and be able to have the opportunity to make an adjustment before you share it with a wider audience?
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff there. Excellent. Thank you. Well, you also mentioned in your TEDx talk, we got 5 techniques to appear confident even if we're not feeling it. We talked about the silent sentence and some purposeful practice. Can you give us a quick pro tip on energy levels, strategic pauses, and confident body language?
Yeah. Well, they're two sides of the same coin, right? If you want to look confident, sound confident, be confident on a stage, one side that we've spent most of our time on so far is about sort of building that confidence. You can't always have or make yourself have a feeling, but you can invite it, right? And that's what the silent sentence about. The other side of that coin of confidence is how to look and sound confident regardless of how you're feeling, regardless of how much sleep you got the night before. And that really comes through the physical and vocal choices that you make on a stage, whether it's virtual or in person. Because we read a lot about each other based on our body language, facial expression, vocal dynamics, all of that kind of stuff, right? So the cool thing is that knowing that we read so much about that and that we can't yet read each other's minds. So we won't ever know if you are actually nervous as a speaker unless you show us or tell us. So you can use these 3 tips to look confident regardless. And that is, number 1, turn up the energy and speak up. Number 2, pause like a boss. Number 3 is walk in there like a superhero. Stand in superhero. Sit like a superhero. How would a superhero sit? And so that first one is volume. Speak up. It's hard for a lot of people to do that, truly, especially if they have maybe some different cultural background or sometimes some stuff from childhood with parents who thought you should be seen and not heard. There's a lot in there, but I will tell you this idea. First of all, if it's on a scale of 1 to 10, just shoot for a 5. Just one notch up. That's all you got to go for. You don't have to shout. In fact, unless you're on some keynote stadium, please don't shout, right? But just turn it up 1 notch maybe, or shoot for that 5. And the other thought there I find helpful is it really makes your audience feel more comfortable. So for example, if I walk out and I'm like, hey, Pete, my name's Montana, and I'm going to give you this awesome tip about how to be better at your job. You'd be like, okay, no thanks, right? And that's just, for the most part, volume, right? If I move from that was down here, maybe like at a 3, and you move it right up here to a 5, suddenly it sounds prepared, confident, like I want to be here. That doesn't mean I actually feel that on the inside. You might be feeling hungry or tired or nervous. But if you raise the volume just a bit, they will never know. They will never know. How cool is that? Pausing, the second one, is it takes some practice, but it's totally learnable skill. And it sounds so confident. And think about any great leader, any great speaker. They can pause like a boss. And it is the antidote to verbal filler. If you video yourself and watch it back, if you actually do that tip and I'm doing all kinds of ums. A few ums, who cares? But if you're doing every time there's a pause or between every sentence, just pause instead. Take a breath instead. So powerful. And the third one is body language. And I mean, that encapsulates a lot, like how to master confident body language. But that's why I say just walk in there like a superhero, because it sort of does it all, right? It's better eye contact. It's a more commanding posture rather than like a closed body language, making yourself smaller or, crossing your arms in front of you. It's more open body language. And it's also a vibe. It's a vibe of like, yes, I got you. I got you. And all of these, again, might feel a little funny or uncomfortable if they're new to you. But if you really focus in on what will make the audience feel more comfortable, then you find you might be able to do these. You might have more incentive to do these, I should say.
Beautiful. Thank you. Big thanks to Montana for sharing her wisdom with us. Big thanks to our sponsors. Check them out. One sponsored checkout is Monarch. I don't enjoy thinking about or fiddling with money, so I love resources that make this quicker and easier. Set yourself up for financial success this year. Monarch is a gorgeous personal finance tool that makes your money life easier. It brings your whole money picture from budgets to accounts and transactions and investments into one super handy dashboard on your phone or laptop. I was such a fan of the old Mint.com and was super bummed when it disappeared. But the good news is that Monarch was founded by a team that includes the original product manager of Mint, and I dare say it's even better. I like the graphical summaries that help me drill down into things quickly and easily and helps me get to the bottom of anything that just seems off or weird or helps me zero in on great opportunities for savings faster. In fact, Monarch helped the average user save over $200 per month after joining. So set yourself up for financial success in 2026 with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes proactive money management simple all year long. Use code AWESOME at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code AWESOME. Well, now let's hear about some of your favorite things. Can we hear a favorite quote? Something you find inspiring?
I have one from the Dalai Lama here, and it says, if a situation is such that you can do something about it, then there is no need to worry. If it's not fixable, then there's no help in worrying. In fact, there is no benefit in worrying whatsoever. Thank you, Dalai Lama.
Okay. And a favorite book?
A recent book that I absolutely loved. Let's see, certainly my favorite book from last year was James by Percival Everett. It is reimagining of the story of Huckleberry Finn from Jim's perspective. Brilliant. But I also love, this one is a little bit more in line with what we're talking about. My personal Bible is called Art and Fear. And that's by David Bales and Ted Orland. And it's all about how to deal with perfectionism and not let that stop you, and how to just practice even when you're not feeling like it. It's wonderful. Check it out.
Okay. And is there a key nugget you share that seems to really resonate with people? You hear them quote it back to you often?
Oh, yeah. Pause like a boss. T-shirts have been made.
Beautiful.
People love that one. But also I get confident captain quite a bit. Montana, I'm going to be the confident captain. And I'm like, yes, do it.
Okay. And if folks want to learn more or get in touch, where would you point them?
They can come to my website, montanavonfliss.com, sign up for the newsletter, and get, just a monthly tips and offers for free coaching from me. Also, all the socials, if you like to consume great tidbits that way. And I have just started a YouTube channel. So if you like watching helpful videos that are also fun and entertaining, come find me there.
All right. Montana, this has been fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pete. It's really great.
I really appreciate Montana's tip about that silent sentence. Tuck that in wherever you need to get in the right frame, set the right intention, and get in the right groove to execute well in whatever communication environment needs you to rise up and project the right stuff. Fun goodies from Montana. If you want to check out the show notes or the transcript or the links to items that we've referenced, I recommend you mosey on over to awesomeatyourjob.com/EP1127. Hope to catch you next time, and peace.